Dell Fest for the Osiris Media interview. And we have Adam from Yonder Mountain String Band. Adam, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
RJ, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be out here. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful
it's
evening.
An outstanding night. Adam, you guys, we were debating how many times you guys have played at Dell Fest.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience at Dell Fest. Do you love it? And if so, why?
I mean, the name of the festival would indicate a reason to love it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's Del McCurry. I mean, he's one of a kind, a legend. Seriously, one of the nicest families like I've ever known. And I'm not just saying that. Like, they literally are. Dell and the whole extended family they make you feel welcome, and it's the best bluegrass band playing today, in my opinion. If you're talking a traditional sounding band, I mean, I don't think there's no one I'd rather listen to. But it's beautiful. I mean, there's definitely been, as you move towards the East Coast, the chance of a rainy festival is kind of in the cards. But I mean, it's been nice. It's hot today, but I love the location. I love the way everyone backstage treats you, and the bands are amazing. Just love it. It is one of a kind. The festival itself is pretty unique too. I hear a lot of people say it's, fans that it's their favorite festival.
Yeah.
You
Everyone we've talked to so far has said family. Either Dell's family or their family or the festival's family. But it does feel like a big extended family at this point.
Absolutely.
Do you guys feel that, like, when you come back here? I mean,
yeah.
Like with Dell, but also with other people that you see and meet and catch up with?
Yeah, the last time we were here was 2016, I think. And I only know that because our front of house engineer printed up the set list we did last time, so we wouldn't do any repeats. And I'm like, I don't know that it matters. We have a lot of new stuff since then too, but I don't know how many we've done. I mean, you said 7. I'm not going to argue it, but
I think this is the 7th.
Yeah, I think this might be a 7th, which is a lot.
Yeah,
it's a good amount. But
I'd come any year they want us. I'll be here.
I know you grew up in Massachusetts, and I was reading that you started as like a metal and punk fan, and your bio on the site, so I think it's okay to say, is that you had some sort of psychedelic experiences which then opened you up to the Grateful Dead and other things, which eventually later led you to bluegrass, I think.
Correct.
But Can you tell us just a little bit about that journey? Well, not necessarily the psychedelic experiences, but just how you came upon bluegrass, because it seems like sort of a long and winding road.
It literally... I mean, I may have gotten there without psychedelics, but I was literally listening to Slayer and Metallica. That was the main music. At that point in my life, I was, too young to be doing psychedelics, but the experiences that I had with my best friend who convinced me to try it, and then he'd put on the Grateful Dead, and at first I was like, I don't like it, And then as the trip progressed, I'm like, I kind of like it. And then by the end, I'm like, I love it. And it was the first album that I remember really being like, whoa, was Europe 72.
Uh-huh.
And the China Rider on that specifically, I remember being like, okay, I think I like this now. And I had to take out my guitar.
Yeah.
I want to get an acoustic,
Nice. Well, and the guy who does the Grateful Dead podcast probably has no follow-ups, so I'll just
No, I can't even imagine what to ask about Grateful Dead listening. So what tape did you get next?
Yeah.
Did you start on a journey like a Dead? And
I never followed him as much as my friend, the one who introduced me to psychedelics. He basically dropped everything and just went on tour, and that was like, what year was that? I guess that was 88 or 89. I'm guessing 89 maybe.
It's a good year to go.
Yeah. And I don't think I saw him until 90 though, or it was right. What year did Brent die?
Brent died in August of 90.
So it was 90 then.
Yeah.
But that first time I saw him, it was. But he. So basically, it was, got way into the Dead, as well as other stuff. I was into. It got me into. I went back to stuff that my parents listened to. They were into the Beatles and even reggae. Like, they liked Bob Marley. They liked a lot of terrible music too. But sorry, Mom and Dad. Yeah.
We all do. It's fine.
It's a parent thing.
But so I kind of went back to classic rock. Got into I guess at that point I was still listening to it, but more of the heavier stuff. When I started playing electric guitar when I was 12 or 13, I was listening to Hendrix and Jimmy Page and stuff like that. But once I got into the metal, it kind of took me away from that stuff. But then the psychedelics brought me back, and I got into Dylan and Neil Young, the Grateful Dead, and when I was in college, my roommate was like, "Hey, do you know Jerry Garcia used to play in a bluegrass band?" I'm like, "What? Like, really? He played banjo?"
Yeah.
You know. So then at that point, Old and the Way was the only record out.
Right.
It was before all those later releases that Grisman put out. So I bought that, and it was a time in my life where I didn't have a ton of money. So, and really even before listening stations at record stores existed, remember those where you could go in and put on.
Yeah,
And so I
forgot about
I
those.
didn't want to just go in and buy something.
Yeah.
Because I had X amount of dollars,
Yeah.
and so I didn't really know what to do. A couple people gave me some mixtapes of some bluegrass that they liked, which I first heard Norman Blake and Doc Watson, Tony Rice, the Grisman Quintet.
Right.
The Grisman Quintet was obvious because of Old and the Way, but I didn't really get into bluegrass, Jimmy Martin, Dell, and Bill Monroe until I met like Dave and the guys in Yonder.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
So without the Grateful Dead, we wouldn't be here doing this interview.
I think there's a lot of bands that are like that.
Yeah.
Not just bluegrass bands.
Yeah,
though.
totally.
Yeah.
It's true.
Which is cool.
They're a good gateway band.
Well, they're the first band really that at least that was popular to some level. That the idea of open-ended sets, like making a set list day of, and I know, like, if you listen to a week of shows from, say, 77, there are repeats night to night at times, but in general it's a different set. And we've taken it even a step further, maybe almost to a fault. Maybe we should be playing more songs. We're always like, we'll do a whole week of shows and we won't repeat anything. And I'm like, well, and I'm the one making the set list, so it's really, I could do it more.
Yeah. But it's fun, though, right? Do you enjoy doing that?
I do. I think, coming from I think I have, comparatively to kids these days, I probably have a better attention span than them. But at the, back in the day, the TV generation kid, I don't have, great attention span. I think, what are we talking about? No. So I think like, making a different set list every night just makes the show more interesting for us, and for the fans. Hopefully, if they're coming night to night. I know if they're not, they probably may be looking to hear specific songs. But if we're only playing each song once in a 5-day run, if you're not at that show, then you don't hear it. I guess.
Speaking as a fan, when a band does that just makes you want to go back and say,
Right.
well, they didn't play that, but they did play this and this and that. They were killer.
Yeah.
But maybe next time they come, they'll play my song.
Yeah.
And I'll be there. And that's what drives fans to shows too, I think.
Yeah.
Among, great playing and a number of other things.
Yeah.
You mentioned exploring bluegrass when you started getting into it. Did you find that it's like I find that it's like jazz records? You can see who's playing on it, and David Grisman you find from Old and the Way. You go to his band, then you find Tony Rice, and you just start
and
filtering
Sam.
out into all these other folks.
Yeah.
Just by flipping over the record and looking at the back. Did you find that?
I did, and again, though, like, not being in a monetary position to be spending a lot of money, I kind of relied on friends to be like, hey, can you, record some music onto a tape for me? I know it's considered stealing, but no one thought of it as that back then.
Yeah.
I never did.
The record industry was very convinced that taping would destroy it, but here we are, and there's, people are still making them, so I think it's just fun.
Yeah. So you guys, you're touring, obviously, this summer. You mentioned before we started recording that you have some new stuff in the works.
Yeah.
Been a couple years since you put out your last album.
Yeah.
What's going on with the new music?
Everybody lives all over the country. Dave and I live in Boulder, but we got Ben on the West Coast in California. Allie's in St. Louis, although she might move to Colorado. I'm trying to convince her. And Jake's in Brooklyn. So we're really kind of spread out, which makes it hard to schedule time. We've been lately, when we have a new song, though, we're just working it up and then playing it live. So this EP we're doing, or I'm not sure what it's going to be, but we recorded 5 songs, one of which is going to be on a tribute record, a John Hartford tribute record, and then the other 4 we're thinking of just releasing and then just getting to work on another one. And in the meantime, trying to work on not conceptual album, but an album that the song to song, there's at least a correlation for the whole record. You know, because every album we've done in the past has been like, you can make you can join all the songs together and make it seem like they were all written with some sort of intent, but in reality they were just songs that we all wrote. But you can find connections that aren't necessarily there, and you don't really realize it, you know, until you're thinking about song order for the record and what, you know, like, oh, well, that kind of fits there, you know, but it wasn't intentional. This time we're trying to think with Dave. Dave's a great songwriter, banjo player, Dave Johnston, and we've been talking about that, about, you know, coming up with some kind of, I mean, conceptual is the best word to use, but again, it's not like The Wall or something like that. But it's something where there is more of a connection with the songs that we're going to write, and we want to write the album. The intent is to write songs for the album, which is something we've never done, just to see how it goes, you know.
Cool.
Can you tell me more about this John Hartford tribute that you're?
I don't know a lot about it. All I know is they asked us to record a song. I don't really have a whole lot of information.
Okay. It was worth
I could look on my
trying.
phone. And I know you want to know what song we did.
That I would love to know.
Yeah, Holding.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great tune.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and it came out really good. It was actually a really fun session. We did 3 days with the whole band at E-Town Studios with our engineer buddy, John McVeigh. And then, you know, Dave and I live in Boulder, so Dave didn't do much because I knew I could get him after the fact, and I had a couple things to do after the fact. I wanted to make sure we get the folks who don't live there, get all their parts done. And then the couple days after, we banged out the rest of it, and it's done. I just have to I brought it with me. I got to do a bunch of editing, but it's pretty much all been recorded, so.
Cool.
And so the idea is to bang that out, get it mixed and mastered as soon as possible, and then think about, in the meantime, be working on that full album, and then in the meantime, maybe even recording another. We have a lot of cool ideas for EPs that we can do. We have roughly, well, you know, I don't know if you know, but Ben has written this sequence of songs like On the Run. He calls it the Sheriff Saga.
Yep.
And it's like a ton of songs. We've never actually recorded it all onto one album, so that's an idea. But we also have like an idea of doing like an old but new type thing where we have, not even counting those songs, we have roughly like 30 songs that we've been playing for years that are only on live albums and they've never done in the studio.
Nice.
And so we each have a bunch that we never recorded in a studio. So, you know, a lot of times you record something, you write something and you start playing it live, and then down the road, you know, all of a sudden you've been playing it for 2 years, and when we're going to go in the studio and work on a record, you're like, I don't want to record that. You know, we've been doing it for so long, and that's what happened with all those songs.
Plus, at that point, you have something a little fresher, a little newer that you want to put your time into.
So you guys play a lot of covers, and you like mix the covers up a lot. I know you just put an EP of covers out in March, I believe.
Oh, that was with Handmade Moments.
Yeah, which I thought was cool, and the cover of Dreams, which I hadn't heard, which like as a lover of that album, I just thought was really cool.
They're great.
How do you work in covers like generally into the shows? Is it like?
Well, with them, that was pretty easy because the idea of having them come sit in with us was to feature them, and they were like, hey, how about this one? How about this one? So those were mostly, you know, obviously we'd say yeah or no on the songs, but it was their ideas to say like, hey, why don't we do that? But when it comes to Yonder doing them specifically, there's no real, I guess for the most part we try to stay away from super popular covers, although we've done a handful of those. But you know, we focus, I'd say we're, and the worst case scenario, we're playing 65% of our set is original, and then the rest is covers. I don't think we're, you know, a lot of nights or like especially festival sets, there's not many covers. Jake and Allie don't write, so if they're singing, Dave wrote a couple of songs for Allie that she sang. Well, one of them she sings live. But for the most part, if either the two of them are singing, they're singing a cover. And the rest three of us sing covers as well. But we prefer to sing originals.
Got it.
You know.
Got it. So you started playing guitar at 12?
Yeah, the year I turned 13. So I was like grade is that 7th grade, I guess.
Yeah. Were you like, I'm gonna be a musician?
No.
Yeah.
I that's one of the things, like, you know, I talked to other musicians in. You know, where they were like, I want to be in a band, I want to play in front of people. That was never what I thought. I just was driven to want to play the guitar, and I actually wanted to start a lot earlier. Again, going back to my short attention span, I think my parents not having a ton of money, I don't think they were in position to be like, oh yeah, let's buy him one. You know, I was like 10. I'm like, I want to play guitar. They were like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, like at 11, hey, I want to play. Yeah. And then random, like, so, you know, birthdays and Christmas were like the only times my parents ever bought me anything. For, you know, pack of gum here or there, whatever. But I'm saying like gifts, you know.
Right.
I'm not ripping on you. If
Here's some juicy fruit.
Yeah, yeah, right. And that year it was February '86. We were in a mall, and there was a music store, and my mom went in somewhere, and I was in the music store, and I found they had like an amp guitar combo. It was a PV amp. I still have the amp. I don't have the guitar anymore, though.
Wow.
It was a Memphis Les Paul copy, all black, and it was like, I don't know, $89 for both. I mean, this is an '86.
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember just telling my mom, like, hey, there's a combo in here, and it's cost this much, and she's like, all right. And I was like, what? Like, and then she's like, but you're taking lessons. You know, I don't care. You know, you're going to, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're not going to buy this thing and put it in the corner in 6 weeks.
That's really cool.
And then for the next bunch of years, it was just like, put your headphones on.
Yeah.
I just see in my room like,
Well, you're hammering out those metal songs.
Exactly. Because when I started, that's like literally the first song I learned was a Black Flag tune. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow. Yeah. So your parents needed you to to plug in the headphones.
Right.
But from there, you just kept playing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was just as soon as I was able to learn basic chords, I kind of felt, you know, I could figure out most songs. You know, obviously I wasn't going after crazy jazz songs or anything, but rock and roll and heavier stuff, reggae, and, you know, I felt like I could figure it out. I couldn't always figure out the solos. I didn't really solo much at all for the first maybe close to 10 years I played, or just mostly just playing rhythm, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it just you know, you some people are drawn to it. You see little kids like really interested. I see it now as an adult. Little kids, like, they seem so fired up to play, and then some kids continue, and other kids are just like, you know, and I just continued. I don't know what makes it different, but I just had a desire when you have free time. I'd be like, yeah. Or I'd watch a video of, you know, Song Remains the Same or something, and be like, I'm going to go play guitar for like 5 hours, you know.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, so good.
So we're going to let you get back to your day, but what's the, like, legacy of Dellfest from your perspective? Having been here a bunch and been in the bluegrass scene for a while, is there something particular that sticks out to you about this festival?
I mean, again, you know, it's Dell. It's all about Dell. I mean, it's all happening because of him and the way that he's, you know, showcased his children as kind of like the torchbearers of this festival. And hopefully, you know, Dell's 80. He looks and sounds and seems extremely healthy, so who the hell knows? I mean, he could be around for a while, but whenever that time does come, it's going to just continue with the legacy is him and the McCurry family. I mean, it's just going to, I think it's going to hopefully happen for a long time to come.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Merlefest, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So we'll just keep coming back and doing this again?
We'll just keep coming back.
Sign me up.
I agree, though. Watching Dell play is still like wow, can't believe it.
Yeah, he's playing in, what, like an hour? Not even.
Yeah.
Not even, I don't think.
Yeah, I think soon we're going to go see him. And the horseflies are coming to get us, so we should let Adam get back to his day.
Yeah, let's call it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
for having me.
Thank you.